Hello, everyone. I am Jen, and welcome to season 3 of Monogamish Pod, a podcast about non-monogamy, polyamory, and anything that kind of crosses our minds here. I'm, of course, your host, Jen. This podcast used to be hosted with Shan, but he's no longer in front of the mic all the time. He's got other stuff that he's taking care of. So now it's just me, majority, in front of the mic. Hi, nice to see you. And also, for the people watching this, our very first video episode on YouTube, hi. If it's your first time listening to Monogamish, yeah, Jen. I'm Black, I'm Jamaican, I'm pansexual, and polyamorous. I've talked a bit about my journey into non-monogamy and to polyamory and where I'm at in my life right now. But, let's just start off with a celebration of making it to season 3. This is the 3rd season. I did 2 complete seasons before this, and now we are on season 3, and we've decided to make some changes. So instead of having it be a weekly episode, definitely doing it bi-monthly. Wait, does bi-monthly mean the same thing for you guys as it does for me? I'm Jamaican, so bi-monthly means maybe every 2 months. I don't know. I'll cut this out. So we decided to do the podcast twice a month, or fortnightly, as the Jamaicans know it as. And also there is a video component, obviously. And I think the theme of season 3 is go deeper. So for season 1, you could tell we were kind of skimming the surface of a lot of stuff, not really getting into the nitty gritty of it. Season 2 definitely got a bit more, had a lot more interviews, talked to people about their journeys and how they came to understand themselves and their non-monogamy and polyamory, and also the pandemic, because we all living through that right now. And for season 3, we're going to go even deeper. It's going to be even deeper. But first, of course, I want to thank the people who have helped us to reach 25 plus thousand downloads. Applause. See? Oh my gosh, it's amazing. When Sham and I started this podcast, we never thought that it was going to be like that, at all. So thank you to every single person who listened or who just played it and didn't really listen, or who told their friends, who told their family. Thank you to everyone following us on social media, to the Patreon, buying the merch. It is unreal, the kind of support that we've received. And I feel like we were able to propel ourselves to this level partly because of the pandemic, in a way, because we were able to talk to a lot of different people that we never had the opportunity to talk to before due to life stuff, like them being busy, and then also me feeling weird, can I approach these people? Can I actually ask them to come on my show and talk about their lives? And literally, I haven't gotten to know yet. Everyone said yes. So it's amazing that we've had so many amazing people. We've had Polyamorous Black Girl. We've had Poly Role Models / Kevin Patterson. We've had King Noir, Jet Setting Jasmine. We've had Ruby Bowie Johnson, who puts on Poly Dallas Millennium. We've had Shanae Jackson Kendall and Cherie Calico Roman. They put on Black Poly Pride. We've just been able to network and connect with so many people. So I'm high-key thrilled, high-key excited. You can tell I'm smiling all the time. I can't help myself. And so for season 3, we're definitely getting into some topics that we may have skimmed over in seasons 1 and 2 or just never covered at all. So this is kind of like a preview and also an in-depth conversation about what's happening in the good, the bad, and the poly out there in the world. Of course, we went on hiatus in June. Man, that feels like it was so long ago. Yeah, I think it was in June. And there's been a lot that's been happening in my life, in Sham's life, and everything, really. People that we're connected to. It's been a journey. It's been a time. There is a lot happening in the world. And of course, in media, we have had some poly representation. We've had some people that I know who've been featured on some news stories. There's been a lot. I think non-monogamy is kind of popular right now, if I do say so. I just saw an ad that Little did, with a kind of polyamorous thing. People are going to start selling engagement rings and stuff like that soon using polyamory. That's a joke in one of my group chats anyway, but I don't know. Poly is popping right now. But is your personal poly popping? Are you secure in where you're at in your relationships? Are you having a good time? Let's be honest. Talk to me here. We've been apart for a few months. I want to know. I want to know how you feel. I want to know what you think. And I want to tell you how I feel and what I think and everything that's going on with me. In the spirit of going deeper, how can I ask anyone else to do that if I'm not willing to do this myself? So, okay, here is my deep story, I guess you could say. You guys know, or maybe not know because this is your first episode. I don't know. I have considered myself polyamorous for over a decade now. Have I been practicing polyamory the entire time? I don't know. I mean, maybe yes, no, maybe so. There was areas of time where I thought we were doing like not necessarily poly, but we're doing some non-monogamy with a previous partner. And, there's times where I've just been hella single. Like, I was single for a really long time. Um, After my last long term serious partner and I broke up, like, I was single for a really long time because at the end of the relationship, it wasn't healthy for me personally. I was struggling a lot and I was in a whole new situation, new job, new city. And we had had some negative experiences, I could say, like towards the end in terms of like how things played out, how I felt, how he felt. It was, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, there was still love for each other, but we were just not a good fit anymore. And even though I was the one who broke up with him, I think ultimately he can kind of come around and see that as well. So our relationship ended in like 2014, and that's who I had a lot of my non-monogamous experience with. Not poly, we weren't really like calling it poly, but it was poly, you know what I mean. So I had that experience with him, and then I just kind of kept to myself. I dated around, not anything too serious. I do have a long-term sex partner, Comet, friends with benefits, however you want to describe them. So, I spent a lot of time with that person. I made other connections, but I wasn't looking for anything romantic for a good portion of time after the breakup because I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that this was a person that I had been planning a future with, a marriage, kids, relationship escalator sort of future. And having to come to terms with not wanting that with this particular person and wondering if that meant I didn't want it at all was hard. And in the midst of all of that, I lost my grandfather. I lost another close friend of mine who's also kind of an ex. And then I lost my brother a year after that. So there was just a lot of things happening in my life up until, like, say, 2019 is kind of when I started feeling more at peace with everything, which is funny because that's when the podcast officially came out, November 2019. But we've been recording since then. We talked about this podcast so much and the idea of it for a couple of years before we even got to it. So things were just happening. Things were happening in my life. I was just not in a position to truly have any other deep, intimate relationships with anyone that I didn't already have. So I don't consider myself to be like at that time I wasn't having any romantic connections, but I was furthering the intimate, like platonic connections that I have with my life, my best friends, the people, my chosen family, in a sense. Like that polycule forever popping. Like that's always great. And we were all going through our own different things at different times. And then 2019 podcast came out and I was kind of ready in a space to be looking at other partnerships that were not just on this platonic level, kind of, being more serious. And I don't mean platonic to mean that these partnerships didn't matter as much, because they definitely matter more to me than most things at the moment. But these are people that I'd already built this web of love with, and it wasn't romantic. And I felt like, okay, it's time for some romantic love. Like, is this what you want? How are you going to go about this? And dating, I lived in South Florida. Dating sucks. The dating apps, the whole thing. And I wasn't really comfortable going to like trapeze and stuff just based on, I have friends who've been, and it's an awkward experience for them because of the kind of people who were there. And it was just, dating other polyamorous people never really didn't cross my mind, but it didn't cross my mind in Florida specifically. But anyone that I went out with, if I felt that we were going to be getting somewhere, I always told them up front, listen, I'm polyamorous. There is no monogamy in your future with me. That is not what I want. That is not who I am at this part of my journey. And that, of course, turned a lot of people off. But I think it turned people more is the fact that I'm not, a lesbian or straight. I think I had a lot more negative responses from some women that I talked to that I was like pansexual than I did that I was polyamorous, because they could kind of vibe with the polyamory, but the indecision of it all, of being pansexual, because apparently there are people who still believe that bisexuality is not real. Awkward. So having to navigate that, and just being in Florida, and the job that I had at the time, I was traveling all the time, all over the world, and there was no way that I was gonna be able to maintain a relationship the way that I wanted at that time. And then, I was like, I'm going to be free. It's my year of hoe. Like, I'm going to just do whatever I want. I mean, I didn't actually call it the year of hoe, but I might as well have. I wasn't necessarily hoeing, but I was just plotting for how in 2020 I was going to be very different. I was planning to move out of Florida. Things were going to be just not what they were in Florida, because I also felt like I needed a change. So I was going to transfer to a different state. I was going to live somewhere else. I was just going to live my best life. And then Corona, Zenzi Corona happened. And man, that fucked me up. Because we all got furloughed. Everyone's sitting at home. We're not sure what's going on. We're scared to go outside. I had luckily just been to see my family in Jamaica, so it wasn't as bad right away. But and I didn't have like a robust social life in Florida. I think it was getting used to staying in one place. This is the longest I've stayed in one place since I can remember, like since I was able to make the decisions for myself. Because like in college, I worked out of the country. I lived in the summertime. I, visited my dad growing up a lot. He didn't live in Jamaica anymore. He lived in the States. So I spent a lot of time traveling. And so to be stuck in one place with no opportunity to leave was hard. And I had a roommate that I was good friends with, but we didn't spend much time together because I was always traveling. And so learning how to share space with someone was hard. That shit was rough. I don't know how y'all do that like on a regular basis. Like, I don't know. And of course, the plans to move got, because, pandemic, irresponsible to move. The base was just not, it was not a thing. So I went online randomly one day on the Monogamish page, and I saw someone talking about a, Black poly chat. And I was like a Zoom event that was happening. And I was like, I have to go to this. Like, I'm inside my house. I'm freaking out. I have to go to this. I have to meet people. I have to connect with like-minded people. And that is how I found Black Poly Bride, just like a random social media post. I think it was on Twitter. I think it was just like a mutual had like retweeted it or something. And I was like, I have to go to this. And being able to talk to other Black polyamorous people, even if they were at a different stage in their romantic and polyamorous journey, or any non-monogamous journey, or even life journey than me, was eye-opening. And sharing some of those stories with you guys has been fantastic. And, I met people. I met a couple people, started talking to some people. One was going really well, and then it didn't. There were some boundary issues, I think, between both of us, and just, I don't know. There was a lot. I was not sticking by my own boundaries because I was trying so hard to please, in a sense. And I mean, I also fucked up. Like, I crossed a boundary that I didn't know existed at the time. But, I recognize now in hindsight, probably was not the nicest or the best thing to do. So, I had some people that were going great, and then that kind of fizzled out. And then I have the people that I'm talking to now. One of them I've actually been talking to for over a year. Yeah. I'm being honest with you guys. I'm being vulnerable and being open. And of course, both these relationships are long distance, because when it's a pandemic, even if they lived in Florida, that shit would be long distance. Like, but just also the stage that I'm at in my life, I was not looking for local partners in the state of Florida because I'm trying to leave Florida. Like, why would I want to like have to come back here aside from like family and close friends trips? You know what I'm saying? So I did that. I I didn't expect the connections to go where they did. I will say that I did not expect what has happened to happen. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them. They know themselves. But y'all don't need to know who they are because I'm shady. But I don't know. I mean, like, I think that it's also helped to teach me a lot about myself and time management. And usually in like our circle in Jamaica that's not monogamous, it was like very small, that Sham and I were in. It was usually like a lot of partnered people with like one or two outside partners. So like they were like married or seriously coupled up, monogamous, hetero presenting from the outside. And then, like, between the sheets, it was so just something totally different. So they were not living polyamory the same way. And it was so interesting going from used to being the one that is non monogamous, having to explain to the monogamous person or the monogamish person, the different segments I was in, to just meeting people who were all just poly. Like they were all more advanced in a way than I was, just based on socialization. And some of these people have been in community together for a long time and have dated each other in the community. So it was definitely weird stepping into that space. And it kind of made me feel, and it made Sham feel this way for sure. Like, I mean, do we really know what we're doing? And I think that's something you wonder about. I'm like, do I really know what I'm doing? It's like being an adult. Am I an adult? I don't know. I don't feel like an adult. So yeah, that was a thing. That's what was happening. And I feel like I feel like a lot. I feel like, see, I just said it again. A lot of this is just, like I said, just breaking myself open in a way with you guys, sharing the story, sharing those things, and kind of talking you through how we got to this point and how we are at this point, which is that I am dating people who are also polyamorous, who have other partners, who have other living situations. It is long distance. I am in the time of my life where that is good for me. I am also getting a new apartment in the city I want to live in. So that's something I'm working through. I am working on my side projects. I have a different job situation thing happening. Like there is a lot happening in my life that is like great. Like my non-romantic polycule is like also going great. Like everything is so good. Are like on track to be super good. But there's always that little part of me that's kind of like, am I doing this right? Am I thinking about this the right way? And when things pop up with partners, it's like, well, I'm not a sharer with partners about other partners. That's not really a thing. Like I might mention like a funny story or whatever, but I'm not gonna be like sharing those details across that way romantically. For myself, that's not my thing right now. So it's interesting, like when tension pops up in a romantic relationship, like you have to remember, like, oh yeah, just because shit happens. Shit happens. I have a partner right now that is just, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna last. That's just for one of them. It's just thinking out loud, and you guys are catching that vulnerability right here. I don't know. It's not easy. It is not easy being polyamorous and like not straight. I mean, the fact that two people I'm talking to are like men, like men, I, I don't know. It's not that I never thought that I would want a man again. I just never thought that I would want a man again, and then I do, and it's freaking me out. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm just spilling the tea. I'm telling you what's going on, and so that is me in a nutshell right now. Like my poly is not popping, but it's like okay, like it's okay, poly. It's and I think that once I'm settled into like my new apartment and I have like some more structure in my like personal life and things settle down with my other people's personal lives, that I feel like we'll be able to come together. I don't know. I feel like my poly will pop, but right now it is kind of like eh. And of course, we're in cuffing season now, and people are all wrapped up in this like winter bay thing. Not necessarily poly people, but some of them are. This whole winter bay thing, and cuddle buddy, and I don't want all that. That just sounds like a lot. I'm not actively seeking connections. Like I'm not polysaturated. Like I don't think I'm tapped out. I don't think I'm at like the max level of partners that I could be comfortable with. I just feel like I have some other personal work that I need to do before, and some stability that needs to be set up with people I am talking to before I get into anything with anyone else. I mean, people can always surprise you. You're right. People always surprise you, and I'm never mad about that. But I think that I'm on the path. I'm on the path to somewhere. I'm getting there. And I hope that you guys are getting there too, and that me kind of giving you this insight into where I'm at has helped you in some way. Just because I had this podcast and this platform, it does not mean I know everything. I definitely do not know everything. Like we said that before. We are not experts. I am not an expert. I am just figuring my shit out and trying to be as kind as possible to people along the way. I do not know everything. So that's Jen. That's me. So I guess I will just take it over into some other poly fun things that are happening. So the show Good Trouble, I think I've talked about this before. They had a polyamorous storyline. They that actually was going pretty well. I think that we got to see some real conversations around that and kind of figuring out boundaries as well, with a character. Malika, who is the girl who is being introduced to Polly through Deontay. Deontay is her polyamorous partner. Deontay's girlfriend. I forgot her name. I'm so sorry. And Malika's boyfriend Isaac. He is gone there on a break because he could not do polyamory, and so she and Deontay kind of build this relationship now that Isaac has left, and she also meets Deontay's other partner, and she kind of builds a little other partnership of her own through a new coworker that's kind of happening. And so it was good. I think it's a good representation because they used Black people, thank God. Usually when you see these kind of storylines, it turns out being like a weird triad situation, and it's with like non-Black people, usually white people. But I'm glad they chose the Black characters to do this with, just because you can kind of see some of the prejudices as well that can come up in certain communities about polyamory. So I think it was great. We got to see Malika kind of figuring herself out, figuring out her own boundaries and how to assert those. And I think it's still a work in progress. And, being able to form other relationships, like other close connections with people and not feeling stifled and trying to do this as responsibly as possible. Like she even asks Deontay, like, hey, what if there was someone that I was thinking about? I'm not sure if it's going to go there, but there is someone. How do we do this? Just like asking a fucking question. She could read a book if she wants to. I mean, we don't see her reading anything poly related. I think we should definitely get her some books on the show. But she's able to really figure this out in a loving and kind way. And I love that. I love this representation of polyamory and Good Trouble. Good Trouble's always been about breaking barriers, though, except for that whole almost incest storyline, the adopted sister brother thing. I don't like that. But everything else, I mean, talking about foster care and, they have trans characters and they're really consistently pushing the envelope, and I genuinely enjoy that. So if you do not watch Good Trouble, this is definitely your sign too. So that's one positive poly news representation. I will say on the downside, Siren was canceled. And you guys know how much I loved Siren, even though it was going weird. I love the fuck out of that show. It's canceled. They didn't really explore that the way I wanted them to, and that was annoying. But, we're fine. Freeform is really delivering, because I just thought of another show that has polyamorous representation, which I think I've mentioned before, Motherland Fort Salem, which is actually my favorite witch show out right now. I think there's so much you can explore in that world. It's a world where witches were used, like in the Civil War. fight for independence, and they have like equal rank. And so the witches run the military in a sense. And once you are from the bloodline, you were inscripted into service as, I think at 18 or something like that. Whatever old people go to military is. I don't know. Um, but, they do have a lot of the pagan rituals that people know about witchcraft on there. The kind of witchcraft they do is super interesting. But the most exciting part is learning that the High Atlantics, which are like the royal witch bloodline, sort of, they have generally like multiple spouses. So like the women are the like power. The women are the power, right? In the show, hence Motherland. And Abigail, who is one of the characters that we see in the series, has like 3 or 4 dads. I think is it 3 dads? But anyway, they're all super nice, and so like they all combined their genetic material, I guess, to their wife. I mean, they're all her dad. They're all her dad. That's the most important part. But I just think it's so interesting that like this is something that's just like in their structure. Like, yeah, you know, you have like 3 or 4 dads. That's a thing. That just happens. And I liked that. I liked that that was just kind of in there. There was only like one dig at it, like in the show. And even then, it wasn't really like a dig at Polly. So, I mean, I appreciate it. It's popping. I mean, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that her mom, I don't know that her mom loves any of them. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. But they definitely all love and care for their daughter. All the dads care for their daughter. And that was important. So shout out to that. So that is some pop culture poly news. I don't have any news items batting around in my head right now, but I do want to talk to you a bit about what's coming up for Monogamish, okay? Like I said, like I said, the theme for season 3 is Go Deeper. So we're going to be having conversations around disabilities, diving even deeper into some kink stuff, talking about STIs, talking about what love really is and what that means to people. You may have seen my tweets about that. We had V on last season, who's aromantic and polyamorous, and it's sparked this question in my head about what even is romantic love, which you might see me unpacking more on social media than anywhere else. I've been asking people what they think romantic love is, what that feels like to them, and how it differs from any other intimate relationship that's not familial in their life. So I guess I'll put that question to you guys as well. You can reach out to me on social media with your answers or email. It's anyone's work. What is romantic love to you? What does romantic love feel like? And how do romantic relationships for you differ from other intimate relationships? Like, for example, a best friend. That's probably like the closest you will get to anything like that. So that's my question. That's my call out there for you guys. Also, I definitely want to have Native American folks who are polyamorous and non-monogamous on the podcast, looking for any Black trans people who are polyamorous to be on the podcast as well. So this is kind of a casting call, if you will, an open casting. So if you or anyone you know is Native American and non-monogamous or polyamorous or a Black trans polyamorous, you can reach out to me on the Twitter or Instagram at Monogamish Pod. You can also send me an email, monogamishpod@gmail.com. Or you can just, send something in the ether. Like, if you know me not through Monogamish, I have my personal accounts at Have You Met Jhen. Of course, links to all of this will be in show notes and things. So you can always just reach out to me directly and we will set something up. I definitely want to go deeper. Like I said, talk about these different experiences. And another conversation I'm going to be having more is about hierarchy and what is perceived hierarchy versus actual hierarchy in polyamorous relationships. So that's just a taste of what's to come. Like I said, this episode is not very long, but I do talk a lot. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's all I have for you today. Again, you can follow us on our social media. Gave you those links before. If you want to support the podcast financially and get some cool stuff, you can subscribe to the Patreon. Patreon.com/monogamishpod. It is an 18 plus platform, so you can't quite, just go on Patreon and search it, you gotta like type out the whole thing in your web address. And you get bonus stuff. I mean, if you are at a certain level for a certain period of time, there's a shirt. At another level, there is like a sticker. There could be more free stuff coming your way. And if you're at the top tier level, there's a level of saucy that you get with your membership that you guys will appreciate. So head on over to patreon.com. Of course, detailed show notes and transcripts when they're available are always up on our website, monogamishpod.com. I host this podcast using Anchor. Thank you. Anchor. Thank you, Spotify gods. Because like Spotify owns Anchor. You guys know that, right? Um, yeah, and that's pretty much where you can find me, where you can find the pod. We do have a merch shop, monogamishpod.threadless.com, or just click the shop button on our website. And I'm available for questions, comments, feedback. I'm trying to do more video this season. I think video will be good. I don't know. I hope you guys like it. Obviously, I will get a better camera. This is the camera I usually use just for like meetings. So it's not like the best camera. It's just pretty good. So I'll probably be investing in a better camera. You can also support Monogamish just like by sharing it with a friend. Like, rate us, review us on Apple Podcasts, share it with a friend. Just like listen to our episodes. I mean, y'all showed out for us. We're at 25,000 plus downloads. I think we're at 26 right now. Like, that's insane. Like, I don't know how y'all did it, but y'all did it. So let's just keep doing that. Let's just keep bringing it together. And that's all for this season 3 premiere. I cannot wait to talk to you guys next time. XOXO. Bye, guys.